Hi, Stevie, and anybody else that might be looking in. You wanted me to send you another video, and I was thinking about, I told you I would read a story, but you know what, maybe I'll just tell you a story. Let me tell you a little story about Lil Johnny. Lil Johnny's big now, but I can remember when he was 2 years old. He lived in, well, here's a picture of the house right now that he lived in, and way back here you'll see a garage. Okay, this house, actually, when Johnny was living on this street, did not exist. Little Johnny lived in this garage that you can see way in the back. Okay, it was Curtis Street in Dearborn, Michigan that he lived there. But the garage really wasn't a garage at the time. The garage used to be a garage, and there was a house up front, and somebody knocked down the house in front, and they made the garage a little one-room apartment. And that's where Johnny first started to live when he was after he was born, up until about 2.5 years old. It was a garage that was converted into a house. Johnny's father actually strung a couple ropes from the front to the back, to the side, and over to the other side. And on those ropes he hung sheets. And what he did, he enclosed the sleeping area, so it was kind of private. So if somebody came over, they didn't have to look at the sleeping area. They could see where Johnny and his mother and father sat and watched TV. Actually, there was no TV at that time. There was only radio. So they used to sit and listen to the radio, or they would go over and they would eat their meals. They would cook their meals and eat them. And that was basically how Johnny lived for a couple of years. Now, there was no house in front, and it was all grass. So it was a big playing area for him. But actually, Johnny didn't start to walk till he was over 2 years old. So most of the time, he would just go out in the front lawn and crawl around and play. He didn't see anything wrong with it, but I'm sure a lot of people were getting worried that here we got a kid over 2 years old, and he ain't walking yet. So eventually he did walk, so everything turned out pretty good. Now, up the street from where Johnny lived lived his grandmother. Now, the house that is there today is basically the same house that Johnny used to go over and play at. He even came over to his grandmother's house after he moved from the garage house, and so he remembers that house a lot. In fact, that was the house. In fact, on this porch, if you see that porch there, that was the porch that little Johnny lit his last firecracker. What happened, it was a little one, and he lit it. It had a short fuse, and it ended up going off in his fingers. He didn't tell anybody because he was okay, but he was a little embarrassed, and that was actually the last time he ever played with firecrackers, because he was very lucky that he did not get hurt. Okay, Johnny's grandmother lived in that house along with Johnny's father's sisters, Demanda Karavas, that was her last name, same as mine, and Marguerite and her husband Michael, and their last names were Quiros. And Uncle Michael was probably one of the nicest persons you would ever want to meet. Always smiling, always laughing, no matter how people were treating him. He always had a smile on his face. Very hard worker. He's not with us anymore. He passed away. But I always have fond memories of all the things he used to do with, or Johnny did. Johnny used to have fond memories of everything that Uncle Michael did for him. So, as I said, Johnny is grown up now. But Johnny can remember when he was about 2 years old, and it may have been in April or May. He remembers it was in the warmer months, and Johnny can remember living in that garage house, and his father came home to visit real quickly, and he brought in his first police car that he ever drove. Johnny's father, once he got out of the military, ended up being a policeman. So, and this is kind of a picture of the police car that Johnny remembers his father bringing home. Now, behind the garage, there was what was called an alleyway. And the alley was basically for the trash trucks to go up behind all the houses and pick up the trash. And also all the garages were way back there. So people used to drive up the alleyways into their garage. There's not too many alleyways around here anymore, but where I live, there are a few just off of Townsend Avenue where people can go up the alleyway to their garage. In any event, Johnny remembers he was about two and a few more months. Johnny can remember his mother carrying him to the back of the garage house to the alley, and there sat his father in his brand new police car. Okay, and Johnny can remember, and he kind of thinks today that that police car was actually brought home to show Johnny's mother the first day that his grandfather was assigned a police car, and it was absolutely brand new, and he was very proud. So, Johnny's father, that was probably one of the first days of his police career, and I think that he ended up staying on the police force for a little over 25 years before he retired. In any event, it was kind of crowded in the garage house, but Johnny didn't really realize it. The only thing he kind of noticed was that his mother was getting bigger and bigger all the time, and he was thinking, man, she's got to go on a diet or something. You know, she's getting so big, pretty soon we won't have any room in this house. And he got a little worried about it. And then he started hearing rumors about somebody's going to come and live with them. And he's like, well, how can that be? You know, Mom's getting big. We have getting littler and smaller room around here. And now she's talking about somebody else coming and living with us? Now, that's crazy. Well, as it turned out, it wasn't an aunt, an uncle, or a friend that was coming to live with them. It was a baby. And if you might have guessed, that was why Mom was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. She was pregnant. And as it turned out, they were thinking the same thing. It's going to get a little crowded around here. So they ended up starting looking for a place to live. Dad had a nice job with the police force. Mom was doing some bookkeeping for the local newspaper. And they could afford to buy a new house, which in fact, that was their plan. As it turned out, they bought this house. Actually, this is what it looks like today, and not much different from what it looked like when Johnny and his parents lived there. Now, if you look way in the back there, you'll see where is it? There it is, a garage. That garage wasn't there when they first built the house. Johnny's father actually built that house later on. Johnny can remember everybody in the back pouring the cement, putting up the lumber and everything. So that garage was built maybe a year or two after they first moved in. As you can see, there's the front door. Behind the front door, a little up the driveway here, that's how we got into the kitchen. You used to go into the house on the side, and you would go into a stairwell, which would go downstairs, or if you turned left and walked up a couple steps, you would go into the kitchen. Over here, where is it? Where can I put it? Okay, over here. See that window on the side? That window on the side was actually Johnny's room. That's where he slept when he was a little boy, all by himself. Behind that room, there's another room, which was his mother and father's bedroom. And when Johnny's sister was born, she first moved in and slept with Johnny's mother and father for a long while. But eventually, she ended up coming in and moving into that bedroom as well. As it turned out, this house had 4 rooms. It had a living room, a kitchen, and 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. But at that time, it really seemed like enough for Johnny, his sister, and his mother and father, and they were very proud to live there. And what I'm going to do is I'll tell you about them living there in another story. As Johnny got older and he thought about this house later on, he decided, that was the best place in the world for him to grow up. And I'm going to tell you about why it was the best place in the world for him to grow up in another story. Okay, thank you. Love you. Have fun. Be safe. Bye-bye.